We are very, 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 very blessed today to have a very special guest, Marcel Hof, joining us on our Dorothy and the Dealer podcast. Welcome, Marcel. It's so wonderful to have you. Yeah. And we're going to not only have this time to share some stories and some of your wisdom, but we're also going to jump in those ice baths that are right behind us very soon as well. So
you're going to freeze our balls off,
yeah,
basically.
All your own choice.
That's true, that's true. So welcome.
Marcel, we always kick off with a song. We just want to know, what is your go-to song? We always just let the clients know what a special guest's go-to song is. And generally we sing a bit of it and join in.
Sometimes I begin singing in Russian for the fun, but my go-to song, I was in New Zealand, as I told you before, and I stepped out of the car and I saw this natural beauty. I thought, I feel good.
I know that. I know that.
This is the thing that comes up.
It's pretty beautiful over there, right?
Unbelievable.
Does it remind you of home?
No, because Holland is very flat and simple and a lot of rain, and so I'm happy that I'm gone there now. So sorry, Holland.
So let me ask you a question. Okay, so I walk into to Marcel's room. He's 15 years old. What's on the walls? What are you into? How did you get into all of this? How did the family get into it? I've watched some clips about it. But how did you guys, like, it was a fairly big family.
6 brothers, 2 sisters, so big family. And what was on the wall, I was at that moment playing football and pretty talented until 18, 19 against paid football. How was it called? Full prof?
Full professional.
Professional.
Right.
So I'm sorry for my English a little, but so I was training like 4 times a week. But at the same time, I had this strange brothers. Yeah. Making a lot of music, doing these strange things, swimming outside in the ice in the winter, doing these yoga exercises. And I had these beautiful conversations. So it was all about who are we, what are we doing here, and just making fun also, doing all strange exercise, walking on bridges for equilibrium and climbing. So. Right. Finding your borders physically and mentally.
So that started from a very young age then, did it?
Yeah, I think from 13 I was already busy also with the yoga, because I played a lot of football and until now even, but now less. So football was always my thing, but there was always a lot of injuries. And I saw with the exercises, with Wim and with the yoga, he wrote also a book about yoga. Right. It helped me just to function better.
But where did that come from in the family? Were your mum and dad into yoga?
Yeah, not really. My mother was into, was Catholic, very simple, coming from a farm. And my father, he did all kinds of work and finally was half a drunk. So our structure was not like, this is the way you have to do it. I learned it more from my brothers. Right. And being together from experience, what is the right thing to do. Right. So we didn't have any outlining, this is the way to go and... to learn, so it's self-sufficient in a way. And was it purely experimental? Were you guys just purely experimenting with your state of consciousness, your state of mind? Mostly, I think, we had some yoga as teacher, kind of, but in that yoga is a kind of, this is the way, but during the way you can do your own thing. Right. You can combine your own things. So we did breathwork, we did singing, and sometimes I know ourselves going to Spain, sitting in the car and just 10 hours of doing mantras, but it's all then about vibration, changing your state of mind and playing with all these states of mind, playing with perception. And without even knowing at that moment what all happened. But it felt good. The feeling was like we felt this flow and helping each other and reminding each other every time to get out of our story. That was that's how I see it now. And then, so what we spoke earlier, you and I were having a chat. We were talking a little bit about the whole concept of story and how people tell themselves stories and they get caught in the story. And the key really is to release yourself from the story, to unwind it. Yeah, I think nowadays, the whole collective consciousness is changing because we cannot depend anymore on government, specialists or whatsoever. I think we've got this full autonomy, this innate knowledge we've got inside. So you have to find your own way out. But at the same time, I think the whole society, it's not natural. So we are fully conditioned also, programmed, conditioned. So there's a lot of things to see what is me and what is not me. And I think what is you and what is me and what we all are is life itself. You can call it love, the life force, whatever, expressing itself through these beautiful bodies. We are sitting here in this unique way. Everybody has this unique way. But at the same time, I recognize this deep part, which we all are, this life force. So we are different, but at the same time, this is the same life force which is going through our all.
Yeah.
So I respect and appreciate the difference, especially. And to get out of that story, because we are programmed and conditioned, there is a kind of way which I, especially the last few years, I was working also with the army the last few years, working with trauma, PTSD, etc. Trauma and all that pain and stress is mostly stored in the body. So you can talk until end of times, but don't get it out because it's stored somewhere. And what I see, why especially the breathing is so important, it is bringing in more light.
Yeah, I was listening.
But it is also energy. And maybe scientifically you can see what happens. I had this psychic girl, she was seeing the cells lightening up from inside out. So these parts which are stuck, where you feel the pain, whatever, is stuck there, or the stress or the trauma, it lightens up, and then you feel uncomfortable. And that's why I always say, during the breathing, trust the process. To keep people, just keep on going. It's just like walking, like a path, you're walking. And if you keep on breathing, you will find at a certain moment the way where you feel this stress. You can release it. It releases it itself. You cannot do it by the mind, because it's putting another story. You're then in the same circle of state of mind, so you have to go deeper. And the breath takes you deeper. And that's a beautiful, natural thing. The breath takes you deeper beyond the mind. You go deeper. Then you can play, your thoughts become fluid. You come between that conscious and unconscious state, theta, maybe delta even. I don't know exact state, but where your thoughts become fluid, and you can easily let go of whatever
So do you
ideas.
So because I mean, leaning into that conversation around let go, because since really the beginning of the year, I've started to do a lot of breath work. I've done a lot of plant medicines, etc., etc. And the key thing that I've been learning there, which is funny you brought it up with me earlier, is this process of what it is to actually let go. Because normally when people hear about trauma, right, they go, an event has happened to me in my life, it's traumatized me in my perception. My perception is traumatized. So it's altering the vibrational frequency of the cell. The cell is not able to release the energy, so it's stuck there. We see it as images, etc., etc. And we feel it as feelings. But what I, just for the audience's sake, because people would go, okay, I breathe into something, I feel it, and I let go, or I have the sensation of letting go. But how does that get rid of the story or what caused it? But my experience of letting go now is that in letting go, you realize that you're not that story. You're just the story is just a play of something that happened in your life. And that, for me, was a fucking huge awakening. I was like, holy fuck, okay. So this is just like, I can press stop on that at any moment, or I can press play on it at any moment. But there's some sort of breakthrough seems to have to happen where you come past the story and then you're outside of it and you see that you're not it. And for me, just so I can get it right so you can help me, is that what the process of letting go is?
It's interesting. We call it all letting go, but I see it even more as embracing whatever there is.
Right.
Because there's a certain part, we make a distinction, say, this is not me. And if we are all of life, you have to embrace it all. Then you can step out and step in. And then we learn what, as you say, if you see a different perception, with your perception, you create your reality. So you have to learn to play with all these different states of mind. And there the breathing helps also. You change your perception, you will see the same thing that happened looks totally different.
Yeah.
For one person, it looks like horrible. For another person, just a thing, feeling. And again, another person. So there is no absolute truth about what happened. It's your perception which created that feeling in your own body. So we can, you have to become aware when did you create that perception on that certain circumstance.
Right.
You can see it. You can choose another perception and see what happens. By choosing every time different perceptions, you see. The idea about the feeling, about the circumstance changes. It becomes more loose or easy or whatever. It is not stuck anymore. You can choose. So I bring people back to the point where they can choose. They are in charge again and feel I'm not stuck in whatever story, because it's just a thing happening in You can call it a quantum field. And if you're stuck, it's just with the ideas you've got around it. So you have to be aware of, you have to become aware of the ideas around it. And the moment you become aware of them, you can choose another idea and another idea, and you can play with it. I did like 20 years ago was also a training where you only played with attention. It's interesting. So you train your attention muscle, and sometimes if we don't know we are attention, we are too much identified with a certain personality, you become stuck there also.
Right.
Even our personality, we are not it's just a way of seeing. Everything is just a perception. Personality is just a perception. So if you learn to play with all these perception again, and there trust comes in and surrender to maybe in higher order than you know now can see, then you can, investigate different perceptions. And then your reality changes.
So are you
and it has an enormous beauty because that's the freeing part. And the breathing takes you to the deeper state where people feel free, at ease, feeling their love, life force, whatever can come in. But all the things that feel easy, wonderful, creative, beautiful, I think that's who we are. We are life itself. I just heard a beautiful talk of this morning, or yesterday. When life in the morning, you see every life coming up, everything is playing, is creative, is finding out. That's the life force. We can feel that. We can come back to that part. But first, we have to see where are we stuck. Even the feeling of stuckness is a creation.
So so do you have to have awareness about that? Because you're saying that the breath work helps you to access that, to shift your perception. Through that, do you have to have awareness of that before you start, or is the process of doing the breath work does that surface?
It can
your
help.
perception?
I think we are awareness already.
Yep.
We even are aware, consciously, unconsciously, of what is happening. Sometimes maybe you cannot exactly point it out, but it's already that's who we are already. So you cannot do something on what you are already. But the more you become aware and loosen from that circumstances, the more you take your energy back. We've got a kind of certain amount of attention also. If it is too much scattered in all kinds of things, there's no clarity anymore. So first you have to come back to that witness position and finally see the fun of it. And then we can see life as a play again, because you can step in whatever identification, but without getting lost. And if you're lost, it's also just a creation. It's fun also.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can lose, but then it's nice to have people together. We are all remembering each other. And our deepest power, who are we? We are just here enjoying life in this certain physical body, and with all these possibilities. And I always say, the more present you become, the more presence you get. So then everything becomes a gift. We are gifted with life itself. There is nothing to hold on to. So then everything comes in as a gift. And it has an enormous beauty. But the mind wants to grab and to hold, because it's survival mechanism. So we are stepping out of collectively from that survival mechanism back to our full power, full autonomy. And it's the most simple thing at the same time. Only the mind makes it difficult, because you have to do things, you have to be that, and you have to act like that, and you have to put up a story, because it's not allowed to feel whatever pain, emotions too strong, because we have to go on, we have to produce, and then you forget your natural being.
So what do you feel is the purpose of doing all of this then? Like, what does it boil down to? Is it the purpose of being aware, or is it a purpose of remembering, or
remembering the beautiful mystery you are, and the beautiful mystery we are living? It becomes all conditioned and normal. You think it's just, but there is nothing absolutely normal. It's an ongoing mystery. In fact, I don't know anything. But the more I surrender to that part, not knowing anything and accepting life every moment as it is, the more beautiful it becomes. It's like a gift every time, because I can know everything, and I know a little about the science, etc., and how it works, and the beauty, and the cells, and whatever, mitochondria, and then putting oxygen in and becoming more beautiful, great, but finally you have to live. To experience life in its totality.
You still got to operate within that function, within that system. But
we are part of it, and we are we are the total life. So if you go in the water, it's not about how long you can go in the water, but it awakens your senses.
Yeah.
That was one of the nice things Wim said. I think then life makes sense. You feel all the senses again. You're not stuck in your head. You feel alive. And what you feel is kind of waking up. With the breathing is in a way the same, because you're sometimes stuck in your head. And maybe we're going to do breathing later.
Yeah.
After 10, 15 minutes, you slow down, the mind slows down. And first it's trying to, what am I doing here? What is happening? Do I do it well or not? Or whatever story is going on. We've got it all. We are human beings. And then slowly it slows down. And then you surrender. The moment you surrender, it doesn't have to be totally.
Yeah.
But you relax, your state, your brain waves become slower and slower and slower. Then it becomes in this dreamlike state between sleeping and waking. There the fun becomes, because you can also, like, consciously being sleeping, how's it called? I forgot the name. You can become aware even in the sleep. It's a kind of practice
like
also.
lucid.
But now you go consciously to the part where consciousness and unconsciousness come together in a way. And then your mind becomes fluid. And then there it's easier to let go of whatever stress, trauma, whatever there is. There it's normal to let go. And things like time and space become also different. We've got a different perception in that dimension, you can call it, because I think every brainwave state, every state of mind has a different dimension and different rules.
Yeah.
So to come there it's easier to let go of all trauma and ideas, because it's not stuck there. It's stuck.
So you're saying it's an idea. Like trauma is an idea.
Finally, it's a certain perception on something what happened. Because one of my stories was I died under the water, almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
I didn't die. In a way, psychologically, psychologically, in a way, I died. I had to surrender everything I thought I hold on to. But beauty was...
Do you want to just explain what happened? Just go into it a bit deeper so the audience can hear
again,
it.
the question.
So we talk about, it's an idea. Trauma is an idea.
Yeah, in a way, because everything is an idea.
Right.
We are speaking here. It's why can we speak? We put words on this energy, and every word has a certain amount of energy, and we can understand each other, but maybe I've got a total different idea about the things you're saying in my feeling and in my mind. So it's kind of energy exchange. What is the absolute rule? Everything is energy. It's like Einstein said. So we are here learning how to manipulate that energy. And sometimes you're stuck in a certain, you lose energy because stuck is like I don't want this, but at the same time it's taking your attention without you wanting it. Sorry. Something stuck.
It's okay.
A little trauma. No, sometimes it's, and then I think if you change the perception,
Right.
like maybe it's a beautiful thing, maybe there's a big lesson behind it, and it changes already the energy. So we can influence what has happened with our state of mind. There, the connection between what we think and what we feel and what is happening outside. Is there an outside? No, everything is happening all the time.
Inside.
Everything is in a way inside.
Right.
It's happening in our consciousness. If you don't have got anger, you don't see anything here. It doesn't exist.
That's very aligned with what we do, because
That's great.
Yeah, we do. we talk to people about the fact that what's happened to them, it's not right or wrong or good or bad or any. It's just something that happened.
Yeah.
How they perceive it is on them.
It's a choice.
It's a choice. So we approach.
Only if it is not a choice, then you feel stuck.
That's correct.
You are in a victim mood.
That's right.
But it's also a choice to be in a victim mood at a certain time, because at a certain moment you think,
it's got to pay.
It serves you
long
in some
enough
way.
to be in the victim. I'm I cannot do anything, and then after 2 years I think, maybe I can do it. And you change slowly.
Yeah. Well, it's just good to hear that something as simple, I suppose, as breathwork
it
is
is
going to be
simple.
able to give you that access point to be able to see, to be able to shift your perception on something.
It's also the fact that there's a huge swing towards this right now. Like, the first time I really heard, we'd done progression therapy like 20 years ago. You know, we were doing rebirthing and stuff like that. But it was very poo-pooed. Like, if I'd have told any of my friends, hey, I'm doing this I'm doing regression therapy, they were like, what's wrong with Mitch? He's lost his marbles, you know what I mean? But when I was doing it was like, holy shit, you know, we were reaching states of, I was hacking consciousness, but I didn't realize, and this is 25 years ago, but now it's in the public eye. It's like, it is the movement. But
it's logic, because now I see even more research is coming in, and we must tell, I had a talk with my brother, Wim. about depression, inflammation, anxiety becomes just, you can show it, what happens, like 10 times less stress.
Yeah.
Stress is one of the factors why we have all that diseases, dis-ease. You're not at ease.
Yeah.
You're not aligned with life itself. Just a simple thing. And the whole society is not natural in a way. They impose a lot of ideas and programming. You have to do this, you have to do that, instead of first being aligned, and then you can produce naturally. But in how do you say it? It's creating more from the heart. And what I mean with that is in unity, because we are not distinct from nature.
Yeah.
We are nature itself.
Yeah.
So if we don't feel that anymore, you feel being stuck. You feel apart from nature, so there's also not a natural exchange of energy.
So you feel an unnatural sense of separation to
There's a
things.
separation
You're not
which-
congruent. You're not in a flow state. You're not, and we are breath. I remembered
And breath is just the first time you come alive. It's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
And when you go,
Yeah.
and that's the way we go away.
Yeah.
So that's the importance, is taking in the energy and letting out. And it's taking in, receiving, and surrendering in a way.
You were saying on something I was listening to, you were talking about it as taking in light.
Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Like how do you see that?
Taking in, it's energy. Everything is energy, and I see it as light. If certain parts are dark, you don't see them, you don't feel them, or you suppress them. There is not much attention, light, and I think breath is also kind of attention.
Right.
Energy, light. You bring more light, so it comes into the light. And I think in this time, everything comes more into the light, because the collective consciousness is changing. And it's beautiful and it's necessary, because we are polluting the air, polluting
the land, the
polluting
waters, the
polluting
oceans.
the sea,
Yeah.
and the food is shit, and we're polluting ourselves with all the bullshit ideas, what we have to do and how we have to be. But we see it's in a way very simple.
Yeah.
Everybody wants clean air, everybody wants clean water, everyone wants a great body and healthy body. And we know in a way how to do that, because we've got that innate knowing. So my purpose, my aim is bring people back to that innate knowing. So not only science, not only ideas, but the feeling of where do I feel myself, and where can I feel my surroundings at the same time. And the breath is a beautiful way, because it goes beyond the mind, bringing in more light, more energy. And just like water, if you spell it, it goes its own way.
Yeah.
So it finds naturally the places, goes naturally to the place where it needs to go, and you bring in more light to the uncomfortable parts or the unconscious parts.
When the parts that have been suppressed as well.
When they have been suppressed.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be things of 20 or 30 years, and just in
seconds,
one good breathing with opening up.
It's a very beautiful thing, and it's a very cool thing, because it's actually with people. I know people will be listening, going, are you talking about meditation? Are you talking about, what are you talking about?
It's science backed up.
But this is what I'm saying.
More.
Yeah, there's the more the science is showing. No, this is what we actually need to be doing. So it's a very beautiful time in history with this emergence happening, and being conscious and aware that you can doing it. Because what was 20 years ago was poo-pooed and you'd be seen as a lunatic,
bullshit.
is now being scientifically proven. But on top of that, the practice itself is really quite fucking easy. Like the very simple things you can, because I know people will be sitting listening, okay, so what do I do? How do I start to access this, and how do I do it now, and how do I start to make some ground on it? So I'm sure we're going to talk about that as we go through about some of the simple things that people can actually start to do straight away. But I feel that these conversations are we are at the coalface of pushing that boundary, and being able to say to people, hey, look, what you need is in you. No matter what the fuck has happened, what you need, you have. And no matter what your circumstance, no matter if you're in prison, if you're wherever you are.
What then comes in, most people live with some ideas. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. These simple things, we've got it all somewhere. And maybe it's from childhood. There is already a kind of trauma. We are not brought up with the idea, you're great, you're beautiful, and everything what you do is just an expression of your beauty or something. That would be the basis from our youth already. All the shit was not happening with all the trauma and all the pain. So that's the things when I use the drum and I use my voice and getting these downloads, I remind people to the deepest core, You're enough, you're great, you're beautiful, your life itself, very simple things. But you have to receive it, and you can receive it in a deep, relaxed state. Because sometimes when we are too much in our head, somebody can say, you are great, and you think, okay, thank you. You don't really receive it, so you have to get in that state where you can receive it. And it was one of my problems about receiving. I couldn't receive that for a long time. So also programmed. We are human beings. We have got this human experience, and somebody has. We have got all our own personal blind spot, and that's great. And that's the beauty of if you are really with the real, authentic group of people where you can remind each other and say, "Okay, I see this and this. Is that true?" That's the way how we can help each other and remember each other to go deeper, even to and finally. Enjoying life as it is.
I think you know the way we talk about trauma, because trauma has such a negative connotation on people. But we always say, myself and Mills are always saying to our clients, look, trauma is just, the only reason you're calling it trauma is because you haven't seen the love in it. You haven't got that was actually empowering you and equipping you and enabling you and showing you and tooling you up to see things.
There's because a diamond in it.
Yeah, and people are and people with the right simple processes can actually start to access that and get that you're not that trauma. I mean, I just find that when people get that they're not that trauma, what is revealed to them is the magic of what they are, and then that seems to equip them and tool them and give them everything that they need to be able to handle exactly what's going on in their personal space at any moment in time. So. You know, the way we see it is that all life is homeostasis. All life is trying to take you back to equanimity, trying to take you back to a state of balance. And in fact, your trauma and your feelings and emotions are just that you were off kilter. It's trying to send you back. It's not trying to beat you up. It's trying to actually get you back.
It's like elastic or a rubber band.
Right.
If you go that way, you can also go the other way as deep.
Yeah.
So I died almost, but that's as deep and only my experience. Life is experiencing all these possibilities of life, our different expressions. Well, we forgot about our innate nature, which is life itself, where we just can jump into every experience. So it doesn't matter if it is something like this and that, but it's just like walking a path. And sometimes there are big rocks, and sometimes there are just as an ocean, whatever. It's all experiences. We forget whatever experiences, even trauma, it's just a temporary thing. It has a beginning and an end. But who we are, I think, and I feel, and I experience, is an ongoing thing. It's just an ongoing transformation. Even life and death, I don't see as an end. But I see everything, and then it comes in like ESM squares, M times...
E equals MC squared.
Yeah, from Einstein. Everything is energy. There's only transformation. If we die, they've seen it already and shown it already. The light stays. Goes out of the body, but it stays. The body will change. The light which is in, they can see it already. So scientifically,
we know that,
what is living, life and death are just ideas
configurations
of the mind.
of the human mind.
We made this distinction in life itself, or in the quantum field, or whatever you call it. We need to give it a name, but at the same time, there's just energy. And we are now expressing this energy in our different ways. And we can even react and act to each other. But at the same time, there is no distinction in a way. Only our identification with only this, because you see it all the time, then it becomes your reality. That's conditioning. If you see things every time, you think it's the only thing there is. That's the conditioning. So that's why to get out, and I think the cold and the breath are great ways, because there are extreme ways to get out of your conditioning in a short time.
That's what I was going to ask you that, though, as well. So we're talking breath work. How does the cold play into that? Is it the same just because it's taking you out of your... It has to take you out of your comfort zone. It has to take you out of your story. You haven't got time for Mummy Doesn't Love Me when it's cold in the... in there.
Or whatever story.
Whatever it is.
In a way, I think the most important is not how long you stay in the water, but it's getting you out of your mind. Getting you back into your body. And then you feel again with all your senses, but at the same time it's dealing with stress. Our body reacts to physical stress, the same as mental stress. So we learn how to deal with stress. We made a research here in Australia with 540 people. They were measuring, I think, the stress levels with this Whoop thing, some new biometric device. And they saw it was 10 times less stress. I don't know exactly what he did, but 10 times less stress with the breathing and the call, and maybe did a combination, whatever. But it's science. It's you can show it and you can see it. So if we learn to deal with stress instead of how do you say it? Tiring ourselves out and letting that the energy will be totally gone at a certain moment. That's one of the most important things to get our back, even in difficult circumstances, to deal with that circumstance. Because I see ourselves as in the eye of the storm. Circumstances can happen, but how you react to that circumstance, and that we all know, is your choice. So as long as you've got choice, you can deal with every circumstance, even death.
Yep,
And that's what I saw. And then this story comes in. It was I almost died under the water.
Let's be back there.
And then it's
Tell us
interesting.
about it. So how did you end up almost dying? Can you just briefly tell us?
I just because I have to. Yeah, I've got so many stories. But there was one of the stories, and like 10 years ago, I did for a commercial. I had to swim under the ice in Iceland, and it was not so far, like 15 or 20 meters, and it was okay for me because I've done it more.
Yeah.
Ice was this thick. There was a safety diver under the water, and they were filming under the water. Was even fully equipped cameraman and so on. And the safety diver, if there was something wrong, I would just say like this: I don't have got air anymore. I made this sign. But during that day, all the things was already not going well. There would be a tent to warm up after my swim. It blew away from the thing. The camera became water in, so they had to take another camera and all the sign, and it was postponed like 2 or 3 times. I was coming from not a good relationship, human being, so I've got my own shit.
These are called signs, Marcel.
No, it's also science. It's also was my inner science. So I was, in a way, I want to get out of that story and didn't know how. That's just the beginning, introduction. So I had to do the swim. I thought, okay, fuck it, if it is bad weather, I just do it anyway and jump in. And even if the circumstances are not well, I will do it, and then I get some money, and it's okay. So I jumped in, but the safety diver under the water, there was such turmoil under the water, couldn't see me. So at a certain moment I was swimming, and I thought, now it's like 20, 25 seconds. This must be the other hole. So they made 2 holes, one to get out, and this thick ice. At the other hole, I couldn't find it anymore. I thought, that must be here already. So I looked around. I thought, okay, maybe a few other meters. I thought a light was there, so I swam to the light, but it was not the hole also. So I made already like this. I thought for safety reasons, I get out of the water. But he didn't see me. Nobody came. And one of my biggest fears was dying alone without any relatives, without any of my loved ones. That was my biggest fear. And if you are under the water, you only hear blub, 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 blub. It looks like a gigantic desert, and you feel totally alone. So it was, in a way, horrible. But I didn't have time to stress. I just had to go on. It was just a little thought, oh shit, nobody's coming, I have to go on. So, and after 4 or 5 times swimming, and again 5 meters, and again this sign, looking around, nobody coming. The left side to the right side, after 5, 6 times, my oxygen was gone. I didn't expect to be a few minutes underwater, just 20 seconds. So my preparation was for half a minute, for a minute maybe, not so long. So at that moment, my oxygen was gone, and I let myself go already. I thought, and the last thought was not this beautiful light at the end of the tunnel.
It was shit,
nobody's coming. I will be totally alone, something like this. So it was like a little candle going out, and I just surrendered. But at the moment, it was a moment of surrender. I didn't feel the cold anymore. It was just this awareness only, just a neutral awareness. But a second later, the safety diver found me, put the oxygen mask on my mouth. I was more unconscious than conscious, so I was, like 95%. I think I knew somewhere, okay, I'm safe or something. So at that moment, he took me to the hole, 5 meters further.
Further on?
Further, 5. He exactly knew where it was. He could see it with his brill. He was coming, so it was a little further. I swam, I think, 5, 6 meters from it. So I was near, but you don't see it. Took me to the hole. The first attempt was with my head. I saw later on the film, pook. So it was like this, but I was so relaxed because I was mostly unconscious. The second time he took me out, and then it was another 10 minutes on the ice in my swimsuit. The first 30 seconds I didn't breathe, And then I heard my the girl with whom I was, Wendy, at that moment shouting my name, Marcel.
Really?
So I slowly came back, and I felt very secure. So okay, I have to be here. That's the only thought I had. So I came back in a way from where I don't know, from a relaxed place. And then it took another day finally to recover. I had to walk to the side of the lake. It was like 200 meters with two guys helping me like this. I was mostly unconscious. After 10 minutes, being on the ice also.
Jeez.
So I was in the cold, but it was all good.
Wow.
It took me a day to recover. But fine, and what was interesting, because I talked with my friend at that moment, my Wendy, the girl with whom I was at that moment. During the night, I didn't took any to relax or something. I talked it out, and that's why I never had trauma of any dreams later on.
Right.
Because I talked it directly out. I knew, remembered almost everything.
Wow.
So by expressing it directly, you don't take on these thoughts about it later.
Right. You don't bottle
So
it
that's
up.
also a powerful thing. But the biggest lesson for me was what is surrender, really letting go. We can surrender so much that you even can let go of everything you hold on to, including your body.
Wow.
You totally relax. So we've got that power. We are more. That's why I see everything as energy, and I tried in my life everything, and also drugs and drinking, and I saw, okay, that doesn't work for me. Finally, I let it go. The most powerful things are breathing, because it goes beyond the body. It lightens up the body. It's kind of this lightening up the spirit. Everything, all the trauma can come into the light, but with the right intention, the right thoughts, and the right circumstance, because we resonate to each other. If I'm there with people and I do the breathing, it's not somebody just talking and being stuck somewhere in the head. I'm that space which comes from that place also. So people can feel that. So it's not only the thing you are giving, but also the place where you are coming from. It's the energy they pick up also. So it helps all these things, all these circumstances help people to get to the deepest pain, fear, whatever. And we've got it all because we're human beings. This human experience is not only beautiful and great, it's also painful. We lose relatives, we lose whatever. Parents, dogs, and sometimes you lose yourself completely.
Yep.
And we have to embrace it all. That's life. That's life. And how do you do that? You cannot do that with the mind. The mind is too small.
Attached.
We've got a bigger picture, a bigger energy, a bigger whatever, a bigger mind maybe. And that's where we are all connected to each other. And the beauty, there comes the connection with you can back it up nowadays with science. But they say we can influence what we are researching with our mind. Becomes now clear. Yeah, it's logic because everything is connected. So if you are investigating something with your state of mind, you are influencing even the research. So their consciousness and what is happening comes together. So there is science, I call it outer science, but there's also an inner science, an inner knowing. It comes together, and it's all energy.
And it's a funny thing because it kind of feels like we're just starting to navigate that ocean now.
Yeah.
But, through some of the places that I've visited around the world, it's very fucking evident that the ancients were doing that for a very long time.
That's a good point. I have a friend, she made a beautiful documentary about ancestral wisdom. All these ancestral, the indigenous wisdom.
Yeah.
So they're coming together now, like the Maori and the Aboriginal and the Eskimos. She made a film of them. She was in all parts of the world. Bring that original wisdom back, because now we are in a development, the society, that there is a turning point, also the collective consciousness, and all the indigenous, they know it there, that there is a turning point now. The consciousness is changing.
Yeah.
So it's coming together. This knowledge is for them more natural. They have been in this connection for all of their lives and all of their previous lives. For them it's more natural, but they see it's now so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's time really to go back. We cannot go further or we destroy ourselves, because everything what comes from, how do you say it? Not from this wholeness. Every act is from a distinction from the mind too much. Then you create only more distinction.
Right.
So it has to come from another part. And I think finally we are now discovering this part, which is our deepest part, which is all connected, and which is the absolute truth, because that is energy. We are connected. There is no distinction. That's just the mind up, and lots of people or short, little groups of people can, how do you say it, are helped with it, because then they can keep their mind and power. It's time to change that. So it's time to reawaken the power inside, the autonomy, the real autonomy. And that's my purpose, to remind everybody we've got it all inside. And to get them to that experience also. So not just another beautiful story, because you cannot replace one story to the other. It looks a little more beautiful, but it's the outside. But really getting an inside experience where you feel I'm in charge. I'm the one who's choosing, and I can influence my total surroundings with my intentions, with my feelings, and with my thoughts. And then we can come really together.
I think that's a beautiful place to be able to get to a point where you get that you can influence out there, because you're influencing here.
What we are sending out all the time. And even if you don't know it, you can see it. This is kind of mirror. It's maybe a 3D mirror, 4D, 5D, I don't know how you call it. What's a mirror? Everything that is happening is just reminding you of what you're sending out. And some things are unconscious, some things are conscious. I'm especially at this part now focusing. Why? Because I had a block also with financial things. Coming from a poor family, maybe there was some programming, some conditioning. So money is just all energy. But I changed something, especially the last few months, to change something. And now it doesn't mean all the money is coming in, but so many possibilities are coming in the last few months, because I saw this change. That was my personal block. We've got all our personal things, some are black spots. But that's how I see, if you send out, you don't have to work hard, but you have to become aware, what are you sending out? Yeah. You can see it. And that's what I saw in my life. That is not working. Relationship was another thing. I changed there also. I don't want to grab anymore to a beautiful relationship. I just came out of something. I'm now taking my time, going back and seeing why doesn't it work. And just by letting it go, it comes to me. It's like maybe just like the same energy as a black hole, where all the light comes in. You don't have to do in a way anything, but just becoming aware of what are you sending out. And then you change, you put your attention on something else. And sometimes if you're stuck, you have to become aware of where are you stuck. With breathing it helps, with cold it helps. It doesn't matter if it works. But I see with the breathing, because it goes beyond the body, it's physical and it's powerful, and with the right intention and with the right person, it can resonate. But what is important, that we become aware of this, we've got the remote control all. We've got a kind of remote control in which we are sending out. It's just like the TV. It's just energy. So that is the new science, I think. We are that life force already, only going through everybody, and we can become aware of what we are sending out. And it's becoming fun.
Yeah.
So
it's becoming fun. It's just a play, and you can make it as serious as you want or as light as you want. It's just all the choice.
Yeah. So we need to finish up now, because we are going to be jumping in the cold plunge and doing some breath work. Just to finish off, Marcel, this has been really phenomenal. But just to finish off, if you could finish off with giving people one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
One piece of advice.
One piece of advice.
You're more than enough. You're this beautiful being which is life itself. So you can take that fully in, and I think you're ready to live life in its totalness and its beauty and its mystery we are.
Beautiful.
Walking through and being in.
What a great place to finish.
I love it.
Love it. Thanks
you
so
Marcel.
much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Looking
I
forward
really
to
appreciate it.
All the
next
same.
bit.
I'm having fun. Let's have
Praise the
some
blame,
fun.
all the same.